This is breaking news from DawgNation.
Good afternoon, DawgNation. Welcome into this Kroger commitment special. Where coming up in a matter of moments, live from Manchester High School, five-star defensive lineman Justus Terry, the man of the hour, kind of the final remaining piece for perhaps Georgia in this class of 2025, is set to make his college decision. To quote the great Brent Musburger, you are looking live right now at Manchester High School, where Terry and his Devils teammates will play tonight in the state semifinals, but also prior to that, get ready to make, Justus Terry will, a big college decision in just a moment. The stakes for Georgia on this could not be higher, as Georgia is once again in pursuit of the nation's top class, but also with a primary need of the defensive line position, with guys like Isaiah Gibson and Elijah Griffin already in the fold. Terry sort of thought to be that missing piece that would make this perhaps the best defensive line class that Georgia has ever signed, and certainly a throwback to its national championship teams in 2021 and 2022, which were both led by elite defensive linemen. Of course, Terry certainly looks the part alongside all of those greats of the past, and it is a dramatic decision that Terry is expected to make here in a moment. For more on that right now, we will check in there at Manchester High School with Jeff Sintel. Jeff, we were lucky enough to get a chance to speak to you a couple of minutes ago, live on DawgNation Daily. We're appreciative of your time here right now. What is the sense that you get about kind of where the room is prior to Justus Terry making this announcement? Describe the scene if you don't mind.
Brandon, we are here. Good afternoon, sir. Good morning, sir. We are embedded in press row. It feels like the type of media attention that this area of Georgia has not received since Franklin Delano Roosevelt came down on the train from Atlanta to visit those hallowed Warm Springs in Warm Springs, Georgia. There is excitement here. A couple of housekeeping tips I want to brief the audience on. You actually get a 2-for-1 Kroger commitment special today. Prior to Terry's ceremony, we're told the ceremony begins in about 10 minutes. Prior to Terry's ceremony, we are told that his teammate, C.J. Favors, will make his college decision, and there's some intrigue to that. He was once committed to Kennesaw State. Those football fans in the state that follow statewide college intention will know that Kennesaw State changed over their coaching staff. So now that decision will come down to between West Georgia, Kennesaw State, and then the man of the hour, Justus Terry, will be here. Justus will be at the podium with his family for his own specific ceremony. And after this, Brandon, we've learned that Justus will take questions from the assembled media here. We've got all the heavyweights here. We've got On3 Sports. We've got 24/7 Sports. We've got Rivals.com in the front row. He will take questions from this panel of esteemed journalists right after he makes his college decision. So you guys will be right close up at it and get a front row seat for it.
I'm going to get in the weeds here for a little bit. When you talk about assembled media, are there reporters representing the other schools involved, such as Auburn, Texas, a lot of their folks perhaps in town for the SEC championship? Are you seeing national representatives of these other websites, or are you seeing specific recruiting figures that represent Auburn or Texas or Alabama, along with what I imagine is a large contingent of Georgia recruiting reporters?
Oh, Brandon, you sly dog, I know what you're looking for here. While we have Georgia team-centric specific reporters, we're also told that they are here representing their entire organizations, the nationwide organizations, the national sites as well, to kind of give a little trickeration to everybody out here. I also see TV stations from local media. We've got Albany here. We've got other folks here. We've got the Manchester High School sound and tech and theater department also assisting here. We also, and Brandon, you're going to chuckle at this because this is your life, brother. We're also told that they will not go with their copyrighted music because they do not want our live streams or anybody else's streams to get a strike or a ding during the live broadcast.
Throwing it back to old school, we're going to have a big Christmas ceremony.
Thoughtful, I thought.
Yeah, very thoughtful. We are certainly appreciative not to get the YouTube strike for this today, but taking it back to the old school, any chance we have some Christmas music a la Isaiah, what was his name? Isaiah Wilson, going back to the class of 2017? Do we hear some Christmas music in a ceremony like we did many years ago?
Brandon, I wish it was something that easy. I wish I could tell you that there are 3 Christmas trees lined up on the stage, and Justus Terry will tackle the Christmas tree of the school he's going to. But alas, there's nothing quite like that happening. We've got 2 helmets, we've got some number 1 jerseys, and we've got the whole football team has already been in this auditorium since about 11:20 a.m.
So I want to ask you one more thing, then we'll let you get set up to bring this. And of course, we're glad to have you there. Our Kaylee Manziel, a part of the coverage with you on the scene there. We'll look forward to one way or another hearing from Terry on the other side of all of this here today. But what you don't see on the podium right now from Manchester High School is any in the way of hats. Obviously, the hat show is sort of the main way in which the recruits oftentimes make their announcement. With Chase Linton the other day at North Atlanta High School, he had quite a lot of fun with his and the different outfits and kind of going from one school to the other. We don't see any props on the stage right now from Terry, which doesn't give us the chance at any kind of like hat science or anything like that might foreshadow this decision. All we see is the home and the away jersey. And, of course, as you say, those 2 twin Manchester helmets. Is there any knowledge right now about how this announcement from Terry might go down in a minute?
Yeah, Brandon, you're testing my powers as an on-the-scene reporter here, but I'm your huckleberry here for this one. I'm told that the decision indicator will involve something he's wearing and a piece of clothing.
Okay.
So that's something to look for right there. Also one thing I got to say, this is a business of shout-outs. This is a business of relationships. But I got to also express my sincere gratitude for Manchester High School, Brandon. They do not get players of this magnitude, moments of this magnitude, quite like Justus Terry, from Tracy Prather to head coach DeMonta Prather. Folks, they got a playoff game tonight against Brooks County, who brings the hammer. Justus actually has had a very trying week. He was sick last week. He had the flu on the way to Lincoln County. He did not play. And now, Brandon, he's got a big playoff game. He's got this big decision. I'm told Justus Terry will be arriving at the school right before the ceremony to make this decision and to kind of move the story forward, Brandon. Justus will be putting pen to paper. I don't know what exactly paper it will be. I know you'll be curious and keen to know that. But what he will be doing, Brandon, is within a couple short weeks, he will be practicing for postseason practices with one of these finalists, and then he will be enrolling early in school in January. It has been quite the whirlwind of events, Brandon. A good little piece of perspective I want folks to think about here. Meriwether County, the city of Manchester, they don't have too many millionaires within their city demographic. But this young man, with this day and age of NIL, Brandon, there is the possibility that this young man who wants to come back home one day when he's made all his money in football, set up trucking businesses, set up barbershops, set up a lot of businesses to give back to his community. To put this into perspective, Brandon, it is very, very tough on a young man who's 17 and 18 years old, who just loves to cut hair, wants to have his own barbershop, to be pondering those really seismic, life-altering decisions right now.
All right, Jeff, we're only about 5 minutes away, so we're going to let you get settled in and get ready to bring this. The next time we obviously hear from, we'll continue to watch the podium for movement, but the next time we hear from Manchester High School, it'll be as this ceremony gets ready to begin. Thanks for your coverage, Jeff. We'll look forward to chatting with you on down the line. So that's Jeff Sintel there. We'll keep our eye on this podium there on the screen. Want people to be able to see that. That way we'll kind of know when the movement's taking place there. We'll get you back to Manchester, let you keep your eye on that podium so we'll know when folks are ready to make that announcement here. But it is our Kroger commitment special as the 5-star defensive lineman Justus Terry gets ready to make that choice here coming up in just a moment. The stakes, obviously, for Georgia very, very high here. Yeah, let's keep our eyes on that because we want to see, as Jeff kind of gave you an interesting piece of information, according to what Jeff just said right there, is that Terry actually has not arrived in the room as of yet. You know, sometimes for these commitment specials, just to be completely honest with you, that all of the luminaries are sort of just off to the side and, you know, it's like they're not on camera, but they're there and around. And, you know, sometimes you can kind of get a little bit of a foreshadowing by how people are dressed and kind of look at some of that kind of stuff. And I remember the very first commitment ceremony I ever went to was for Demetrius Robertson. This is going back at the College Football Hall of Fame. Was that class of 2016, I guess, initially for Robertson? I guess that's what it was. And, the cake to celebrate was yellow, which was the color of Cal. And so sometimes the stuff in the room gives you a little bit of a hint about where this is all going. And to be honest with you, I love this stuff. I think the drama is really fun. I'm entertained by it. I like trying to figure it all out. I like having some sense, and most of us, I think, do have a prediction for where we think Terry may go. I also like the confirmation of that one way or another. This is not everybody's cup of tea, but I really do enjoy signing day theatrics, so I love commitment announcements like this. I think it's just a fun thing to be able to bring you live here on DawgNation, and I do like the sense that you get in the room before something like this happens. As I told Jeff a moment ago, you don't see hats on the table right now. So if you're looking for the one that looks like, as fans sometimes say, the convenience store hat, that's obviously not going to be chosen. You don't see that here right now. And with Terry, as I believe we heard Jeff say, not in the room yet, you also don't quite get the look of, okay, well, how's the family dressed? Which colors they're wearing? And, things like that. You don't quite get that right now either. Now, as I've also told you many times before, I'm also very colorblind. And so I don't always pick up on color cues the way that other people do necessarily, but at this point in time, we're only a couple of minutes away from this actually starting. And as Jeff said, when the announcement does go down, of course, we appreciate our friends at Kroger for making all this possible. Make sure you check out Kroger for all of your Christmas party needs, tailgate needs, game watching party needs. Kroger's getting you ready for a great month of December with football and family and holidays and everything else. Make sure you stop by and see them today for all of that. When the ceremony begins, I'm sure we'll hear from some of the luminaries around Manchester High School, but also C.J. Favors, who has been the starting quarterback for Manchester this year. He's going to make a college choice. Sounds like Favors is likely either a running back or a linebacker, maybe at the next level, if I understand that correctly, but he has been the starting quarterback for Manchester. This is a very good football team. They do play, as Jeff mentioned tonight, in the state semifinals. Terry has battled injury at times this year, has not played a full season. It sounds like, according to Jeff, did not play last week in the state quarterfinals either. So this is a guy who has, kind of battled injury here a little bit. But obviously tonight, a big showcase game for his high school teammates and for Terry one way or another, kind of an end coming up here in the very near future. We've got some words being spoken. Let's go live to Manchester High School.
I'm the head football coach, Well, we glad to see a lot of people in here for these two great athletes. They are a good role model where the student athletes should be. They are excelling on each court, football, basketball, track and field, and they also excel in the classroom. That's the most important part. Today we're going to have two signings, C.J. Favors and Justus Terry. I got a couple things real quick to try to help us out. This is a very important moment for everybody in this room. I want you to understand that help us out with sidebar conversation. We want these kids, family members, and supporters to hear everything that each kid got to say. We don't want them to miss anything. We also have media up front, so if you can refrain from having any sidebar conversation and just tune in and listen, because these young men have worked extremely hard for everything that they're getting right now. We just don't want to be cut short or somebody miss something because somebody having a sidebar conversation. First up will be C.J. Favors. You can bring your family.
I want to start by acknowledging all the offers I received. I got Mercer University, University of West Georgia, Stony Brook University, Charleston Southern University, Army, and Kennesaw State University.
So you're watching C.J. Favors here.
Know me, but for the ones that don't,
from Manchester High School, Justus Terry, right after this, live on DawgNation, courtesy of Kroger.
And this has been a long journey for me. I started playing football when I was 6 years old. When I was 9, I started training, and this was when I knew football was something I really wanted to do. I've been working hard for half of my life already, and look at the growth already. If it's one thing football has taught me, it is as long as you put your mind to it, you can achieve it. But if you think negative, you will have no positive results. Throughout my youth years, I played in several All-Star games and gone to a lot of football camps, pushing to get my name out there. Fast forward to high school. Now high school is a totally different ball game. The people were stronger, faster, and 10 times bigger from a freshman's point of view. But I never backed down from anyone because if you asked me who would win between CJ and Ray Lewis, I'm picking me. During my junior year, it was the toughest because I know I was having the best season of my life. And at the end, I still wasn't seeing any attention from coaches. But instead, I had my mom and dad in my corner telling me to be patient and to trust God's process. I want to thank my family for being there even when things got rough and for making sacrifices to support my dream of playing at the next level. I'll never forget the look on their face when the words "full ride" came up. But that makes me happy because I know my family won't have to stress to pay a dime out of their pocket. I want to thank the coaches for holding me accountable on and off the field and leading us no matter the circumstances we've been put in. I also want to thank my teammates for showing me what a brotherhood is and how far it can take you. With that being said, I will be furthering my education at
So congratulations to C.J. Favors, teammate of Justus Terry, choosing West Georgia right there, continuing his football career in Carrollton with West Georgia. Big moment for C.J. Favors, who this year was the starting quarterback for Manchester, playing in the state semifinals tonight. And next up is the man many of you are tuned in for, Justus Terry, the five-star defensive lineman, live on DawgNation, brought to you by Kroger. Here's DeMonte Prather, the head coach of Manchester as well.
All right, next up we'll have Mr. Justus Terry. You can bring your family with you.
First off, I want to start by thanking God, because without Him, I wouldn't be in this position, to make this decision or have this opportunity. Next, I want to give a special thanks to my parents, the people I surrounded myself around, through this process. Y'all really motivated me to get up every day and keep grinding. Shaking a little bit because, you're new to me, but hey, I really thank y'all. I really love y'all for that. I got a special thanks to Jamani Bronner. I didn't text you back for a reason, because I wanted to do this in front of everyone. Just want to thank you for taking me in 2020, grinding with me 4 years straight, non-stop, every rep. We made it count, and now look what we're doing. So I just want to thank you for that. Zanny Copeland, I want to thank you for taking me in, working me every day. Times I didn't want to work, you pushed me to my limits. I wanted to quit, but I never did. Now look at it. So I just really want to, thank y'all for that. I want to thank my teammates for pushing me. Man, we've been through, what, and back, man. It's been crazy. So now with all that being said, I really just, my coaches too. I can't forget them. Jack, man, since Rick, you already know it, man. Just been since Rick, Monte, since you came, Coach Quinn, Coach Buck, it's been a good ride with y'all boys, and I just really loved all the moments we had together, the way y'all grinded with us and pushed us and always kept us in a positive mindset, positive energy. With all that being said, I want to take my talent to University of Texas.
He ain't got no pen.
So there you go. That's the way it goes sometimes. The
Congratulations.
Texas Longhorns appear to be the pick. Obviously, the mom has the shirt on that says signing day. We saw the Longhorns logo there. I believe that was all of the logos for the various schools. But it looks like here, as you are sometimes fearful of if you're a Georgia fan, that the 11th hour move is made. Someone swoops in.
All right, thank y'all for coming up. Oh, my bad.
And it seems like that's the case here as Justus Terry, in what can only be described as a shocker, but in this day and age, that seems to be more and more commonplace. Justus Terry has chosen Texas. Let's find out more about why as we hear from DeMonte Prather.
So he can hear the question, y'all, again, just keep the conversation down so he can hear every question and we can hear every answer that he gives.
Justus, man, can you just walk us through your decision? When was the timeline? When did you finalize that it was going to be Texas and the Longhorns today?
Yes, sir. I kind of finalized it this week. Just really doing some hard thinking and praying on my decision. I really didn't want to focus on it too much because, I'm trying to make a state championship run with the guys. We have a big game today at 7:30 against Brooks County, so I really didn't want to worry about it too much. But later this week, I just decided to take 2 days and clear my mind and talk to God. When I had my decision, I felt good about it, went to sleep on it, woke up, and I was ready. So I just made my decision today.
Justus, I know Coach Gilbert was out here a couple of weeks ago to see what has it been about him that's helped guide you to Texas?
Coach Gilbert, he got a motor. It's like it never stops. No matter what, you cannot pick up the phone. He's still gonna call. And no strings attached. It's like he just want the best. He want me to be the best I can. Coach Baker, a good coach, a great coach. When it comes down to technique, he wants you to have the best technique, strike. Get off the ball, a lot of things like that. So he paid attention to small details. He send me quotes every day, about having a good work ethic, waking up with positive mindset, and I just take those things in. I love when coaches want to see me be the best version of me. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Justus, you visited Texas for that game in October against Georgia. I think that's the only time you've been out there, at least over the past couple of years. What have you learned about Texas on that visit that ultimately played a role in deciding to go out there for good?
It was the connections, just being from Georgia. I always just felt like I was in the box. Now I just wanted to step outside the box and, expand my life, just, meet new people, make connections and just do whatever God lead me to, just walking the path, just taking it step by step.
Justus, how's it feel, man, to finally have this decision out of the way and now you can focus on what you got the task at hand later tonight?
Man, it feels good. I'm just ready to get to work, grind with the guys, bring the championship back, not worry about anything anymore, made my decision. Now, let's rock.
Just go back a couple summers ago, man, we had that one-on-one interview. We talked about a lot of, getting to that next level, all the work you put in there and blowing up back then to being here now. It's kind of, man, what advice would you give to those that want to follow in your footsteps to be who you are this time?
I say really surround yourself around positive people because that really matters. I really believe in you are who you hang around, which is true because, you kind of take in those traits from the negative people if you hang around negative people. So surround yourself around positive people. Get up with a positive mindset, pray, work every day towards your goal. Never let anyone tell you can't do it. You won't be able to do it, no matter what form you in. Just grind. Just get ready for it. Life will hit, and you want to just attack it. Never let life attack you. You want to attack life, and just be the aggressor. That's all I have to say.
Justus, coming back to things here, obviously the in-state school always loomed large in your decision. This was a very significant decision for you. Just can you walk us through how hard it was, and also as a follow-up to that, do any of these coaches know? Did you tell anyone, or is this a surprise for each of those staffs right now?
It's a surprise. I kind of kept everything shut down this whole week. I wanted to take the stress off of me, just trying to talk to a lot of coaches every day. I wanted to kind of take that stress off me, so I just shut it down this whole week. kind of made it a big surprise for everyone.
You're watching Justus Terry explain the surprising news here as Terry chooses Texas over Georgia in a ceremony a moment ago. A somber mood around Manchester High School, certainly. So there you have it. That appears to be the end of it. Justus Terry choosing Texas over Georgia. We said this on DawgNation Daily today, that a lot of fans don't love the prediction stuff anymore because what's been true for years can change at the last minute, and it seems like Texas, to its credit, has done enough to change it here at the last minute. As you see Coach Prather there saying goodbye to everybody, I believe that's the end of that ceremony. This is just sort of the way that it goes right now. You can think you've got it locked up, but it's obviously never over in recruiting. The one thing that I find to be remarkable about all of this is if you want to go back to the official visit that Terry took to Texas on the day of the Georgia game, that seemed to be very little about Terry in Texas. In fact, go back and watch the interview that Justus gave to Jeff Santel shortly after that official visit. He was talking about the guy they call Coach Coop. That's the UGA staffer, David Cooper, and Quavo, the famous hip-hop star, that they were, kind of in the stands. They were pointing each other out and basically we're led to believe sort of giving the signals of, hey, we know you're going to be at Georgia here. As Terry was in the stands at Texas on his official visit, there did not seem to be a whole lot of, obviously this is coming from a Georgia perspective, so I'm sure Texas fans would say it differently. There did not seem to be a whole lot of, real pizzazz around Texas for that visit to Terry. It almost seemed like it was a chance to go out and see his eventual school, Georgia, play on the road and earn a really big win. But obviously now it's the Longhorns who get the last laugh, and they get the big win here. And we can presume, and it's a little bit, uncouth to say it this way, but we can presume that the bidding war got very high at the end, and Texas was either able or just flat out willing to go to a level that Georgia either couldn't or didn't want to match. But either way, what was supposed to be the centerpiece of the 2025 class for Georgia, pairing Justus Terry with Elijah Griffin and Isaiah Gibson, putting that group together to kind of dominate the state. It would have been a chance for Georgia to sign the top 4 players in the state, as ranked by 24/7 Sports, the top 6 of 7 players, according to that same individual ranking system. Ultimately, Georgia's going to watch Terry get out of the state now and go to Texas, barring some sort of last-minute drama. And obviously, we'll keep our eyes open for that because there was at least the potential that happening with Usmani Kroma earlier this week when he chose Florida State. We did see Terry sign something. It was at least in a folder. Perhaps that means it's a little bit more official than we sometimes see here. But no other way to say this. It's a real gut punch for Georgia fans here. Terry was a guy that you really wanted. I think for a long time, Georgia fans thought they were going to get him. But as we've been saying, even for Georgia fans who remain confident on that, no one right now can ever be sure of anything. Everyone on guard for the sort of last-minute situation here. And it seems like the final moments is when the real bidding sometimes begins. As someone who just, I'm not in Manchester. I'm sitting here in the studio. I'm sort of observing this somewhat from afar, the way that many of you are. I'm kind of a spectator to some of this. It certainly seems like the real negotiating oftentimes doesn't begin until near the very end. And to Texas's credit, that's what it appears that it's done. Made substantial enough of an offer, and obviously that goes beyond just money. Texas has had really good defensive line play now 2 years in a row under Steve Sarkisian. They have more to sell than just dollars. I'm not going to pretend that they don't. But obviously in this day and age, NIL is the major factor in these recruitments. We're, of course, led to believe that Texas has as much of that as anyone does. Now, we also know the context here for rumors of what maybe other Georgia, commits were offered. We kind of have a little bit more on the record stuff as it relates to Bryce Underwood, the quarterback that flipped from LSU to Michigan. It'll be interesting to hear, and most of this will be unsubstantiated rumors, so therefore it kind of only exists back channels, dark corners of the internet. It'll be interesting to hear what the rumors end up being on this. what the numbers and what the figures are, you can somewhat speculate. And some of that's sort of an educated guess just based on we've heard about this guy at this and this guy at that. There's oftentimes very little on the record about this because the people who know for sure don't want to say, and the people who probably know probably can't quite confirm it. So most of that ends up sort of being kind of a back channel type conversation. But the big headline today is that Justus Terry has chosen Texas. And I think the kind of analysis is for Georgia recruiting class, it's still going to finish up near the top of the country, given where it started on the early signing period and given how it concludes. I think that Georgia fans are going to be less impressed with this signing class from Georgia than perhaps any that Kirby has brought in. And that may come across as unfair and harsh. I don't mean for it to. A lot of these guys may go on to be great players. And still the sheer number of top-end talent that Georgia has is obviously pretty substantial. But I do believe there's going to be a significant pocket of Georgia fans that were kind of hoping for more at the conclusion of this class and certainly perhaps even expecting Terry here. So there'll be a lot of discussion about some of this, about kind of where it went wrong, what it took for Texas to swoop in here, and how Georgia, with this date circled for such a long time, was unable to kind of hold on to Justus Terry here and have that big win. Our Kaylee Manziel has also been on the scene there at Manchester High School. Kaylee has been watching all this play out. Kaylee, we've seen a lot of surprises here in recruiting as of late. What was the reaction in the room when Terry showed that burnt orange of the Longhorns a moment ago? What was it like being there on the scene for that?
Hey, Braden. Sorry, I haven't been able to hear you, but I can assume what you're asking at the moment. Lots of people in this room, you can tell they're really proud of this kid. It really went down to the wire. Talked about the difference that Texas visit made for him, and I guess Texas continues to add on to that #1 recruiting class. Sometimes you just have to follow the money, and you can't blame a kid for doing that, and Texas has plenty to put out, so we'll wish Justus Terry the best of luck here, and I'll give it over to Jeff Sintel. Make sure you check out all of his articles that he just put up on all DawgNation platforms about the decision.
Monte, went good.
Brandon, are you there, sir?
I am, Jeff. Go ahead.
So obviously, I think you've probably made mention of this because you are a man of the moment. Texas beats Georgia for Justus Terry. There was some drama that certainly built there as he basically dipped into his bag, looked for the appropriate choice of wardrobe and school colors that would announce he was choosing Texas. And Brandon, I don't know what your broadcast was like, but we are conditioned, not to hit publish on the stories until maybe a minute cooling off period after a decision like that is made. We waited, we wondered, and indeed Texas was the choice. Very interesting decision given that these two teams will play on Saturday for the SEC championship. Looks like Texas wins the race for Justus Terry today. Those two schools will battle it out on the football field for tomorrow for something much bigger than that. And Brandon, we've got to kind of just tote the line, completely honest here. This is a tough loss for Georgia and Texas. Brandon, I've been covering Justus Terry since he was in the 8th and 9th grade. There was some stunned silence in the room, but Texas is a school that was not with Justus when he posed without a shirt in 8th grade on his Instagram account and went viral. He wasn't there. Justus was not mentioning Texas as a significant contender here until midway through his senior season. That official visit to Texas basically kicked it off. And also, Brandon, when he watches Texas in that game, he sees a Georgia football team soundly defeat the Texas Longhorns as well. While we're also quickly breaking down this class, Brandon, now Georgia's defensive line class has just 2 members, the #1 defensive lineman in the country in Elijah Griffin, especially the interior defensive lineman, and California 3-star J.J. Hane. Obviously, Isaiah Gibson, the #1 edge in the country. He's already 6'5". He's about 270 pounds. He looks like he could play a 5 tech. He looks like he could play inside a little bit. sometimes that Georgia's done with its elite freshman defensive ends. But significantly now, Brandon, when you have Georgia not expected to retain some of their key veterans in the two deep, Warren Brinson, Nazir Stackhouse, Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, Christian Miller maybe. Now this freshman defensive line class, which was supposed to fill in some gaps in that elite talent across the front, now it looks like Georgia may definitely have to turn to the portal to stock up that defensive line.
All right, Jeff, good stuff there from you. Can you hear me, Jeff? Jeff cannot hear me. All right, so Jeff.
I can hear you, Brandon.
Oh, you can hear me. So, yeah, I think you bring up a lot
I
of.
can hear you, Brandon.
Okay, good. I think you bring up a lot of really interesting points. When CJ Wiley made his decision, we were live on air for that. That was also a surprise, choosing Florida State at the time before eventually coming back to Georgia. Sort of subdued reaction in the room there at that time. How about at Manchester today? What was obviously family and close friends are going to be happy for the young man, but we would assume that Manchester's pretty deep red Georgia territory here. What was the reaction kind of from the other people in the room when Terry made the choice that he made?
I mean, Brandon, it was a bigger moment because there were more people in the room here at Manchester. Feels like the whole school and community is here. One thing I did notice, Brandon, everybody's big on being the body language readers right now at these ceremonies. And to me, it looked like his parents knew, whereas the comparison there to C.J. Wiley's decision, his parents did not know. Now, one thing to think about here, Brandon, these news cycles are what they are. You see the commitment announcement right now unfold in front of you on a Kroger commitment special. Now, there's two things to watch for. The first thing to watch for is, does Texas announce his signing?
That's right.
I'm told the papers were not sent in. The papers, it looks like the Manchester head coach DeMonte Prather is actually holding the papers in his hands right now. It does not look like they've been sent to Texas. There's a big orange SEC folder he has in his hands. But again, Brandon, I'm not trying to give people hope where there's not hope, but I'm just telling you there are stages to this. And also, you really don't know when these kids are officially official until they get on campus, until they check into the team hotel, and they start practicing in December for those postseason practices. But for DawgNation, for all of our audience, they've got another thing to get a little bit more interest about tomorrow as Georgia faces the Texas Longhorns in the SEC championship game.
Jeff, you've had great coverage all day long today. Let me ask you this. It strikes me that the most interesting question of all doesn't really get asked, and that's just kind of how this goes. How much more Texas may have offered than Georgia to secure this decision a moment ago. Do you think we ever get to the point where that is allowed to be common knowledge the same way if a free agent signs with the Braves? We know what the Braves offered, oftentimes in comparison to others. Do we ever get to the point where someone just asks a player like this directly? And I don't fault Terry for choosing more money if that's ultimately what he did. That's the same decision that many of us would make in a situation like that. So it's not scandalous and it's not anything to be ashamed of, but it's also seemingly secretive too. Do we ever get to the point where these questions are asked directly to the player for them to either choose to answer or choose not to, of were you offered more, how much more was it, and allowing that to be a part of the official record on a decision like this?
Well, I think, Brandon, in the cycles to come, you might have this a little bit more above board as they seek to streamline a lot of these big kind of Wild West offers to entice a kid. Maybe the highest bidder eBay type format wins. But, that's a question, obviously, that matters with Justus Terry here, because I said before the announcement in our pre-announcement discussion in the pre-commit pre-gamer is that Justus wants to do a lot of things with his football career. Barbershops, trucking businesses, to bring some of that money back to his community. So I think the natural question, should he have chose Georgia, would be, are you taking a home state discount here in this situation, or was this simply a matter of a high bid? And that's a question I'm fascinated. Excuse me. That's a question I'm fascinated to get the answer to, Brandon. Obviously, when you have a presser and he's taking live questions in front of a crowd, maybe not that's the most proper moment to just fire off What does your pocket look like after this decision? But that's one, Brandon, that we will try to find an answer to going forward.
All right, I want to ask you one more thing, Jeff, and then we'll let you get back on the road here. So I think for Georgia, the evaluation of the 2025 class is perhaps a little bit complicated. If you look in state here, you're going to see, 5 of the top 7 players in the state, at least according to one of the major national services, they're going to end up at UGA. Top defensive lineman in the country, Elijah Griffin, he's going to end up at UGA. You mentioned Isaiah Gibson as an edge. That's how he's classified. I think of him as a defensive lineman, really. That's a guy that's also going to be here at UGA. There's a lot to like, in other words, about Georgia and its class, and yet it's also a situation where the big close on Wednesday didn't really happen. A prominent commit like Ousmane Kromah did get away. Terry was the one everybody had circled, and as some Georgia fans were fearful of at the last minute, that sort of got away. Jeff, how do you evaluate, and frankly, the final ranking's not all that interesting to me on this because Georgia's always going to have a fairly high ranking. How do you evaluate Georgia's 2025 class, in particular the way that it has closed here as the early signing period will conclude today?
Yeah, Brendan, I think that's the way you got to describe it. It's the lack of a close. You're used to those Kirby Smart specials, those late signing day booms. Well, it certainly feels like, especially the last 2 or 3 days, Georgia has taken it on the chin rather than delivering a signing day special type exclamation point to the class. I mean, it's really hard to look at this class and not look at it and say what could have been. I mean, this was a class that still now has the most 5 stars in the country. It still has the number 1 edge, the number 1 tight end, the number 1 linebacker, the number 1 defensive tackle. That's more than any other school in the country. But it feels like something was left at the table in the end when you don't close with a Justus Terry inside your own state and you don't hold on to an Ousmane Kromah inside your own state, especially when Brandon, we can simply look at the numbers and see that Georgia has signed more in-state players from the state of Georgia than they ever had before in any one single Kirby Smart recruiting class. Justus Terry is a Texas Longhorn. It seems like it happened really fast, really late, and that's one of those things that we have to kind of get used to, Brandon, in this period of late closes and late reversals of decisions down the stretch here in the class of 2025.
Jeff, great stuff. Be careful coming back. We'll see you in Atlanta tomorrow, and Georgia will try to get its measure of revenge against Texas there on the field. We'll see how that goes down, and we'll watch for this official announcement when it does come from Texas here as that paperwork perhaps matriculates its way westward, and we'll make that official when it all goes down. Jeff, thank you so much. Really interesting coverage. Fascinating times here in the recruiting world. This one doesn't go Georgia's way, but it is certainly an interesting story to watch unfold, and your coverage certainly helped us make more sense of that. Appreciate it.
Hey, Brandon, take it easy. We'll see everybody in Atlanta tomorrow.
All right, good stuff from Jeff Sintel. Kaylee Manziel also on hand with him. Matt from Manchester High School, where a moment ago the 5-star defensive lineman Justus Terry, who had been kind of designated as one of the potential centerpieces of this class for Georgia, chooses Texas instead of UGA. And as Jeff said, while we don't have any reason to believe that won't eventually become official, much like some of these recruiting decisions over the course of the last 48 hours, we will watch for that to become official when Texas kind of puts that out there on their social accounts. It's kind of become the custom here in college football, even in a post-national letter of intent type world. So that is the story. Georgia will finish with an elite class, but perhaps not all of the elite names was hoping to have in that class. And for those who say we only go live when we know that Georgia's going to get a prospect, in this day and age, that's becoming less and less true because it feels like we've done a few of these lately where the guy chose the other side. In this case, it was Texas stepping in and taking Justus Terry away from Georgia. Terry's obviously an outstanding player. We'll wish him well tonight in his state semifinal game and, of course, in his career. And who knows how all these paths may cross again at some point in time in the very near future. So thank you so much for being here as a part of a Kroger Commitment Special. Huge thanks to Kroger for making it all possible, too. Remember, trust them for your holiday parties, your game-watching parties, and everything else going on the month of December. They'll get you stocked up with the food, the beverages, all you need to make that experience great, in-store or online at Kroger.com. Busy day for us tomorrow around the SEC Championship. We'll see you there for that. And then back here for, you never know when, a Kroger Commitment Special sometime in the near future. Have a great weekend, everyone.